Coming.
Nice shirt.
Thank you.
Ito.
Easy on stage. If you're on stage lang. I'll buy you another shirt. Okay. Same. Did you buy it? Did you buy it? Yeah. Sure, I can't be seen now. Try ka muna, no? Kasi wala. Ano yun nga po?
This is Tito Brian. Hi.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Wala pa po yung API.
Can I share you?
Sure. Okay, pasalog po. Pero nag-check in na po.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, wait lang. Lagyan pa yung laptop lang. I'll send it.
Sure, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, can I have your attention? Here, real quick lang. Alright. Okay. So, before I begin, I'd like to first thank you all for being here. I know it's a Saturday, but you know now you're in the right room when it's a Saturday and you're out here building. So, you know now you're with the people who do love what they're doing. And because of that, I'd like to thank everyone as well for the honor to be here, to be talking in front of you, and to be able to impart some of my knowledge, because I think, right here with our concept of wanting to build for the next, for all the time moving forward, there might be some tips that I have encountered and some experiences that you guys might go through then. And I think that in some of these talks, some of these ideas, they might be able to help you. So I've made a couple of mistakes in the years that I've been building, and I'm pretty sure at least one will be able to make an impact in what they're about to build today. So I'd like to all welcome you to a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I just like to call it Build and Beyond. So, before we begin, can I get a quick raise of hands? Energy check lang. Who here is excited to be building today? One more time, louder for David. Who are you excited to build? Alright, love that energy. Thank you, everyone. So, during the duration of the talk, I just like to request that let's tone down our voice a bit. I know everybody is very, very excited to be building, but let's also take into consideration the other people so that they might not get distracted. So, let's begin. This is my oversimplified build and ship playbook that I've been doing for years now, but it's now accelerated however many times, 100,000 times by Codex. So, I think we'll begin with the idea that building is a part of the job. Quick raise of hands. Before AI, how many here were developers already? Like, sino yung nakapag-code pre-AI? Yung mano-mano, handwriting code, right? Science of aging, joke lang guys. I'm 22 and nagko-code din ako manually noon. So, for those those who don't know me yet, I'm seeing a lot of new faces, and I'd like to quickly introduce myself. Hi, I am Lesman, and I've been a builder for a few years. So what do I mean by being a builder for a few years now? Well, it's been so long that it was before my frontal lobe even developed, and until now, wala pa rin. Sorry, just a joke. Anyway, right, so years ago, 4 years approximately, I was studying right across the street sa UP de Manila, taking up computer science, and then I dropped out, like San Francisco, but for PH, I guess. Because during my first year, I joined a class as the first data scientist and research engineer, where I was working closely with the executive team to just build dashboards, mockups, and prototypes. Basically, the guy na utosan na, hey, last month, can you see if this is possible? All right, do it. And it kind of helped my naivety back then. I didn't know that something was hard. They would just put me to build it, and lo and behold, it was hard. But I mean, that's the joy of it, right? And then a year after my stint at the class, I left to join a startup called Control Labs, where I got to work with one of the GPs of Peter Thiel's tech fund. It's called First Park Ventures. And we built the e-commerce analytics for Southeast Asia. So during this project, I was also with somebody from Palantir. They led the Southeast expansion. And as I'm going through the talk today, you might recognize some Palantir-esque or San Francisco-esque ideas in terms of how to build. And just a few months ago, I started my own company called DCA Labs, where I'm now founder and CEO. Now, even though we are just a ragtag team of Gen Z kids, our average age is, I think, like 22, 23, we've gotten to land some enterprise clients, some enterprise contracts, and although they are under very strict NDA, we can say that we are in the hospitality, government, and digital education sector. So, why did I talk about all three of those? Definitely not to praise myself, but because in all three of these roles, I was building, and actually going beyond building. It's not that I just made something, rather I made something that people cared about or had to care about. Even, dare I say, even they have no choice but to care about it. That's the whole idea of building and beyond. We're developers and we kind of lean towards just wanting to keep on building something, pero how many people actually care about what we build? And I mean, this is not, yes, you might expect that, okay, GPM and marketing, of course that's very important to make people care about your thing. But oftentimes, it's very helpful to take a step back and figure out what you're building is actually correct. I mean, pre-AI, you would take months of research and validation before you spend like millions into trying to kickstart a project. Now, thanks to AI, your process is not millions and months, rather, just a weekend and onting hiya because your thing failed, which myself, I have done many times over. So, nonetheless, weeks or days spending building a thing and ultimately it fails is something that, we can be more efficient about simply by taking a step back and looking through this framework from a objective standpoint, looking at some numbers, looking at some concepts. So, about building and beyond, there's this pattern that I go through myself, and up until this moment, I still do this to the daily. And these these 6 numbers, these are not really dead set rules, and actually for the rest, it's not dead set. You're gonna figure out after building a couple of startups and companies that a lot of these are really just vibes. There are general frameworks, but they're all vibes. There's no objectively one right thing to do, rather where to distribute your effort, how to do it, when, where, and how. But there's always that immediate next step that loops back into itself. So once you do one step, it's still recurring, but the other things will feed into it. Building a company, building a project, building a startup is not linear. You start at one stage, and then it's like a loop where the other things feed into itself. Like a network graph, I would say. For those who are building Obsidian, yes. I'm using Obsidian. Yeah, you guys know that a lot. So what do I mean by these 6 numbers? Well, first, before I go and build something, I ask myself, have I lived the thing? I want to make sure that I, as a human, have that first-hand experience in what I'm building, because that's what makes me human. That's why AI hasn't, quote-unquote, taken over us. Because AI can't experience the world for itself, and our only real ideas will come from us living life and experiencing things. I actually make it a rule for my, even the engineers in my company, that please take your time to enjoy art, enjoy movies, experience life. Because so much of my life, of what I build, takes inspiration from those. So dare I say, building is an art, and live life to make better tech. And then, so as you're living life, you're gonna notice there's things that might not be efficient. Let's say for instance, one time I was on a bus trip back home to my province in Mindoro, and our fares were collected via a conductor. I forgot the English word. The one who collects fares. And then I had to pay via cash. And then I realized, maybe at some point they should implement URPH or any digital payments. And then of course, given our context, it's a tall ask. But then these are the things like you're just passively living life, but you're watching out for those things that, oh, there might be something to build here. Almost all the time, you're gonna have to reject the idea. Let's say I'm on my way to the province, nobody's gonna pay via QRPH. But it's important to entertain them, cut them out, but you're gonna filter out what I call the diamonds in the rough. So you found the problem, you now think about what the solution can look like. And that comes with you as a person, somebody who's an inventor. You think about what the solution could look like. And most of the time, it's not the final thing. That's why after you think about it, you build. And now more than ever, it's faster to build. And that makes it faster to get to the next step, which is showing it to people. Once you've shown it to people, not just yourself, I like to think in orders of magnitude. First is myself, next is the next 10 people I know who care about this the most. Then 100, then 1,000. So my way of growing something comes in that idea, where it's just the next magnitude of 10. I need to make them care about it to refine the idea. And lastly, you learn. So it's a cycle again. 1 to 6, everything feeds back into one another. The more you're watching, the more you notice, the more you like to build. I probably have like 30 broken Git repositories because they were all ideas that I didn't continue. I mean, like another example, freshman year in college, I was tracking my dorm clothes, and which I brought to the laundry. And then instead of making a to-do list, instead of making a list in my notes, I built an app for it. It was really bad, and I was a freshman, so cut me some slack. But that idea of, okay, this could be something. Right, so which now brings me to my first project where I did this. It's called Legit Bato. So, quick context. Legit Bato is one of the recent projects I made. You might have seen it if you're on social media. I make some slight marketing pushes. But the idea that I want to play back from my example is that the 6 points that we did, I went through that in building this project. So what does it look like? Well, let's go through it. You guys have seen fake news and satire. Every Filipino is out here on social media. I'm living life, and then, oh look, there's a satire post, there's a scam text. Like for instance, LeBron joining Gen Z to face Chobi. Or these scam texts that like, oh hey, you earned whatever points. Well, not just myself, but so many of us Filipinos are going through this, and you realize it becomes a problem, not just because us, thankfully, we are tech savvy, but how about our parents? How about our titos and titas and the elderly, less tech-savvy people who kind of don't get the influence that we have? It's already claimed that tech is a bubble, and we need to, now that with AI, it's much more like a bubble now. So, looking outside of our bubble, the tech world is getting more dangerous for those who don't keep up. So that's where I got the idea to build Legit Bato. In a nutshell, Legit Bato is an AI fact checker. Basically, just send it any statement. It's gonna do some research, validate some real articles, get back to you with an answer. And let me show you guys a quick example. I actually went through a lot here, but the idea, let me just scroll up. Let me look for LeBron. One moment. This is actually live, so if, I'll show you a QR later. But if you go through it, let's go for this one with Apple. Not that one. Let's see. Okay, Apple Leaks, for instance. I made us check for Apple Leaks if this is real, whatever the specs here are. And then I just did a bunch of research, checked some articles, like, okay, it's ultimately it's unverified because it checks the source. like the real, verified, pre-vetted sources as a human would. So, however, again, send anything suspicious, research the web, you get an answer you can understand. Now, like I did, thankfully with Codex, I just asked it to make something demo-worthy. Because if you chat on Messenger, it doesn't have any flashy animation, it's just loading. But here, let's take this for instance. Let's take a look at any example. Rating 10,000 cache aid available today. If you send something like this to Legit Bato, it's gonna verify the right sources where it's gonna come from. Call let's say the SWD, the one who posted it, official registry with the government, and then it's gonna check, okay, it's not official because nobody cited it, it's not real, the sources are not true. So as simple as that. Where in seconds or maybe a minute sometimes, you can get answer for something. And it's so easy because you would have done this in ChatGPT. But I thought of it building that integration layer for less tech-savvy people to just chat it as a chatbot in Messenger. I figured that, hey, somebody would actually like that. And for those who might be interested, I'll flash a QR code for a few seconds here. This links to our Facebook page, and you can send it a message, ask it anything if they just come up. Right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So in the past week that I've launched it, we've gotten over 100 people messaging the page, checking out what it actually does. And they've gotten, dare I say, real useful answers. We check that, we spot check them every time. And yeah, it actually gives something if it's legit or not. And after we marketed it, well, we've actually gotten picked up by a publication journal now. And because of my background, it's also getting published in a couple of university papers. And basically, this is me building something that people care about. It got picked up, people are spreading, people are using. And this is not really a business for me, I just build it for fun. But because of this idea that there's a problem I want to solve, it can actually influence other people as well to care about what I'm building. So yeah, it's gonna be in the newspapers, print and digital in a few days, I believe. So, with this example, I want to talk about how to pick an idea and how to get people on it. People usually do the first part, and honestly, it's really easy. Ideas are cheap, that's often said in YC. But how do you get people to care about it? It's, yes, GTM and distribution, but I want to take a step back at its very core. Those first 10, or in this case, maybe 100 people, to care about your problem. So first, I want to talk about having an answer to why you. Why should it be you to solve the problem? For Legit Bato, my reasons for it, there's no right or wrong answer. It's really just how convinced you are of your answer. For Legit Bato, it was because I lived it. My family, my parents, my lolas, they send those things in the group chat. And I'm like, no, please check it first. And after I gave it that, my product actually passed the mom test. Like, would your mom use it? Yes, my mom uses it. So that's when I know that, okay, it's kind of useful. Next is my ability. I was a journalist back then, and I had a lot of journalist friends. So I know that to make my product world class, I have the exact fit to build for it. Let's say, case in point, Brian is going to use it as an example. Alright, so for Brian, why would Brian make Tarsi? It's because Brian really just lives the problem that he wants to solve financial cracking. And he has a distribution network to do it, but I don't think that's not really the point. It's that Brian had the capability to build it, he cares enough about it, he has the access to do so, and he just built it. So he can just build things and just be convinced about what you're building. And then, you can take a step back and start at the ending. What's the outcome that you want to come out of it? For myself, I just want to minimize the spread of fake news, especially in the rise of AI. Like writing a fake article is so easy, generating a fake image is so easy. I want to minimize that. However metric it may be, when I got interviewed for the article, my answer to my goal was just that if there's at least one person, one fake news, one fake story that I combat, it well would have been worth it. So that is ultimately my goal. And hey, if it reaches 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people, then great, amazing. But my goal is to just fight that and take it to the next magnitude. And lastly, to make people care about what you're building, tell them something they don't know. So this is also what I got from Palantir when he was any fundraising round. if you were to try, let's say, if you try to get into YC, or if you try to get into any sort of accelerator, the pitch, generally from what I've seen, there's a lot more nuance, but basically, tell them a problem that you have lived yourself, something you found yourself, something you've experienced, why you were the person to build it. All of these are things that they don't know. They don't know about you, they don't know about the problem, they don't know about your solution. So what I said earlier about things going back, this is part of it. This point is kind of where everything adds up. Everything you've done before, you're gonna tell somebody about it and make them care. For example, like what I did with Legit Bato. You guys probably didn't know who I was before, you guys didn't know what I built, but I'm trying to convince you to care, because for those, if you have family out here who probably at least everybody has received one fake doctor post sent by an elderly to their inbox or their family group chats. If you're somebody who has ever experienced that, this is probably something you might want to check out. So because I was able to describe who I want to market to, and because that's kind of broad, it's in the Filipino culture, then I have the ability to tell you something you don't know. And of course, as builders, we love this opportunity to learn from other people. So with all of that, let me just wrap all of that up for that first part, the context setting, where figuring out what do you actually build, how are you the person to build it, and how do you get people to care about it. Ultimately, it's find a problem, think about your solution, and care about it enough, and convince other people to care about it as well. So let's get to the building. Oh, this isn't all just theoretical, of course. I just wanted to talk about finding out what to build. Now it's the next step of how to build it. And for this, I just want to set the context that tools change and principles survive. I saw this meme on X one time, I just recreated it, I forgot who made it, so credit to them. But I kind of believe in the idea that in the era of vibe coding, or agentic engineering, just prompt though. Like, it's not, there's some nuances, of course, there are definitely some useful tools and workflows and setups that you can build. But at the end of the day, just learn the tool, don't spend all your time learning how to set it up. Rather, come from the foundationals. That's why I started in theoreticals, because my workflow is based around that. And yes, other people have better workflows, but you realize you have your build experience as a builder. You just take insight from other people. You're not supposed to like follow everyone willingly and like, yeah, sure, some smart guy who's leading the industry says you should do this. Could be me. You guys could be taking something from this. But don't just, it's in my context, it's in their context. Take from it what you can and put it into your context. That's why foundations are so important. You know how to build your building blocks yourself. For those who might not yet be entrepreneurs, I just want to share something. The real valuation, let's say, of a business, is in its processes. Yes, assets, but also the processes itself are the real assets. And that just reflects also in us as humans. Our real value is our processes, our systems, knowing how we do our thing, rather than just being able to, copy paste somebody. Right now, there's like 100 people I can attribute my depth of expertise to. And I never followed any specific one. So always take from it as you will. There's gonna be trends and everything. Ride them, test them out, whatever. But keep in mind, tools will change, but the principles will survive. Who knows? Next model comes out and it works very differently. At the end of the day, the principle is just follow. But I also want to cite real quick that general skills are real, like I was saying. It's not loading, but there are some skills that if I might suggest. Matt Popak, he has a lot of skills. If you live on X or Twitter, he's definitely there. Sorry, it's just not loading, but you can look him up, Matt Popak. And then he has a lot of skills, let's say, really with dogs. And because he's a teacher, he just engineers. People how to be engineers. So he does know a bit about it, and I take some concepts from him. I don't copy the entire workflow, but I just take some concepts. Right, so earlier we got to establish what problem should you be solving during the first part. And you take from that, step by step. These are tips, this is not an actual workflow. Integrate it as you will into yours. So like what I do, I just give codex as much context as I can. a lot of these will be very verbal because my repositories are kind of private-ish. But the idea is that coming from the very, very first step, what I like to ask Kodak is just tell it that brainstorm with me. And there's a lot of brainstorm skills out there. But the concept behind it is that everything should live in one workspace. All the concepts should not be in your brain. It should be in a repo, it should be in some other resource that you can connect to. Literally anything else out there, you're supposed to give to the AI and then iterate aggressively on it. And every iteration also should have that context. If you amended something in our repository with like hundreds of planned docs and APRs, they have all that resource. Right. Next, just a general workflow I like to do when I'm talking to AI or building, I like to go verbal, drawn, then specified. What I mean by this is I just speak into it. I have a speech to text app. It's called Apple Voice. And then sometimes I am using Excalibur. So I'm paying for free software just because I like to draw things a lot and it helps a lot for the AI to think about the UI that I'm thinking about. And then I then get prototyping or whatever, but it just comes from there, translating and talking about what I like to do. And there's also, for those who are building front end, I like to memorize what chassis and elements are there, or any library for that matter. But being able to say what a sheet and a modal, and an accordion, and a table, and a data table, all of those will have the AI orient towards what you're building. Then, generally, I just like to assume I like to ask him what its assumptions are before I build. The way a real engineer would, if an engineer talks to a PM, the engineer will have so many questions about the thing to make sure they're building the right thing. Now, AI is the engineer. You're kind of like the PM product guy, so make it ask you assumptions the way, again, a real engineer would. And then these are some rather more basic ones, but I just wanted to mention it. If ever, for those who haven't been in the real developer workflow where there's a lot of people, I just build the flow first, the UX flow, like Excalibur flows. It's called wireframes in Figma for those who do prototyping. And then I do my research inside as well. Like I have an assumption in my head, I just tell Codex to verify this assumption if it makes sense. Here's what I think validated. Let's say architecturally, I think this solves the problem. Does it really? Codex verifies. And then I want to mention this point as well. Make it work well. Right now, before, all that mattered is there's an idea, but because of how fast we get to iterate because of the AI, the bar has been raised. A wireframe or a basic thing is not enough. Let's go to the next step. Let's make it look even better. Yeah, so next step is make it look really good. And Codex can help build a solution, but it never lived the problem that you did. This is where taste comes in. You guys are probably hearing this a lot. AI doesn't have taste. Why? Because it never experienced your life. It's your vision. Yes, there are tech standards to build a thing, how a thing should feel. But it never lived your life. It never went through your experiences. Make sure that you impart it onto the AI. Right, and then I just want to end with a few more quick point rapid fire. Everything you do should be tracked so that in the next time, let's say AI makes a mistake, track it so that it doesn't repeat the mistake again in the next one. So whenever a bad pattern happens, let's say too many lines of code in a single file, it's hard to maintain. Make sure that you set litter rules or you set AI rules that, okay, try to minimize file length, and so on and so forth. Right. And I just want to mention also that when it comes to critical infrastructure, not the context of today, but do spot checks on your code. If there's critical, for instance, we were building a finance module in one of our products. We nearly hand-coded some of the parts because of how critical it is. Right. And lastly, I just want to focus on this point very, put a lot of emphasis into it. Look for those aha moments derived from your problem. My problem was that there is fake news on social media. The aha moment is, oh wow, I send it to this bot and it comes up with a really good answer. So is LeBron joining Gen G after leaving Lakers? This one's a mix of truth and satire. LeBron is leaving Lakers, but it's a joke because he's not an esports player. So, dare I say, this is my big aha moment where I was genuinely laughing and I was like, wow, have I built AGI? Why is the AI so comedic yet so smart? I was using just Gemini here, so I guess I'll take it. And yeah, once you demo your aha moments with the feedback back into Build, you're never gonna run out of feedback to get from people. Again, as a builder, digest it as you will. And, right. So, last slide ito. To wrap everything up. You build something from your lived experience, you show it to people, you learn from showing it to people, and you build again. That is Build and Beyond. I'm Last Man, and I hope you guys learned something today.
Okay, thank you, Lesmon, for sharing, and hopefully you guys learned something from him. At the same time, if you have